Thank you very much. It's good to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the work that we're doing. Now, I have to say that I am not a farmer, but we work very closely with NC State. In fact, about half of our employees, we have about 30 employees in RTP and in Apex. Half of them have NC State connections. We work very closely with the Animal Science Department and the Poultry Science Department. Jason, my father's here. He was a professor at NC State University in the Poultry Science Department for 30-some years. And it's a very fruitful collaboration and one that continues to yield great returns. So I want to talk a bit about our company and about enzymes and how they could help reduce the need for antibiotics. Now I know this is a pretty bold statement here, to reduce antibiotics by using enzymes, and that's probably not something that many of you are familiar with. So I'm going to spend some time talking to you about what enzymes are and how do they impact animal nutrition and health, and then how enzymes might help to minimize the need for antibiotics on the farm, okay? And then, since this is a biotechnology crowd, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we think biotech can help drive enzyme development for the future, and looking at what we're calling a post-antibiotics future. So many of the speakers have alluded to this, and this is the problem that we're facing. Now, whether you believe it or not, the perception is that because much of the antibiotics produced in the U.S. are used in livestock, and there's increased incidence of antimicrobial resistance in pathogens, therefore we must reduce the use of antibiotics in livestock production. That is the reality that we're facing, and we see this on the news, and it's affected our industry when McDonald's and Walmart are making statements about reducing the use of antibiotics from the suppliers that provide them, the swine and poultry, to their food chains. So we hear this, and while we don't. We're very science focused, and we're about providing solutions, and we want to provide a solution that is sustainable and good for humans, animals, and the environment. And so what I want to talk to you today about is how enzymes can serve that role. And so what are enzymes? Many of you probably know enzymes are natural biological catalysts. They're found in all living things, and so in the context of nutrition, they break down specific substrates of the feed and make those nutrients more available to the animal's digestive system and also help feed the gut flora. And that will come into more play later when I talk about that. This is just a slide to show you one of our products called Xylemax. This is an enzyme that breaks down the cell walls, and this is kind of a schematic of how we look at how enzymes work. It breaks down the cell walls to release the nutrients that are within the cells and make that more available to the animal. So the animal digests the feed better and grows healthier without the use of any kind of supplements like antibiotics or chemicals. These are the classes of enzymes currently used in animal production, phytase being the primary one. This is a molecular ribbon diagram of how a typical enzyme looks like. You can see that it has an ability to, what I want to leave you with is that enzymes have a specific ability to bind and break down certain substrates. And so for the case of phytase, it breaks down phytate, which is a storage molecule that locks in the phosphorus. So phytase allows the phosphorus to be released from the phytate molecule so that you don't have that released into the environment, and the animal can utilize the phosphorus better in the feed. Protease is another class of enzymes that, as the name implies, breaks down proteins. So these proteins in animal feed can be vegetable or animal proteins, and makes those proteins more digestible, the nutrients, the peptides and the amino acids more digestible for the animal. And then the third class of enzymes used in animal production are carbohydrates. These are enzymes that break down the fiber in cereal grains like wheat and barley and make these more digestible, again, for the animal. So why does this matter? Why does this help the animal's growth? Well, because, and this is a schematic of a chicken's digestive system. Now, while enzymes work, and most of our research has been done in poultry, enzymes are also effective in pigs, and we have done a lot of research with researchers at NC State University in animal science and with enzymes in swine. But also, they're what are known as monogastric animals. So you have a process by which a feed passes through the gut and is digested through the process, and the absorption of the nutrients occurs in the small intestine, just like in human metabolism, and then goes into the colon. And so enzymes act throughout this whole process, and depending on the pH profile, when they're most stable, some act in the crop area in the gizzard, some act closer to the intestinal areas. And what they do is digest the feed and make it more available to the animal, make those nutrients more available. And so how does this impact health? Well, this is a slide that Dr. Peter Furquette from the prestigious Department of Poultry Science at NC State has shared with many of his talks, looking at a cross-section of this, the gut, of looking at as you move from the small intestine into the large intestine. And his point is that if you have poor digestion in the foregut, in the duodenum and in the small intestine, it leaves more nutrients that will feed the pathogens that are in the colon. And these are the kind of opportunistic pathogens like Clostridia that cause inflammation. And then it creates this vicious cycle. The inflammation then increases mucin secretion and suppresses the nutrient utilization in the foregut. So what this is showing is that these are the villi that are line the intestine. They get further apart and get degraded as there is more inflammation occurring because of the production of mucin as a result of the pathogenic microbes. So poor digestion results in inflammation, which results in more bacteria and enteritis to occur, which then creates a situation where the animal uses energy to fight the bacterial infection rather than to grow, and then you have impact on the growth rates. And so by creating a healthy gut situation, you maximize the possibility of improving the growth and the performance of the birds. And we've demonstrated this time and time again in a number of trials with our enzymes in the field, both poultry and swine trials. And so what I want to leave you with is enzymes help minimize antibiotic use because they can break the cycle of the pathogenicity of the hindgut. When there's poor digestibility of the feed, it feeds the pathogens, and if the pathogens cause inflammation in the gut, it just creates a cycle. Enzymes, by improving the digestibility of the feed, keep those nutrients away from those pathogenic organisms and reduce that, and so by doing so, create a gut health environment that's better for production and productivity of the animal, and improve through better nutrient absorption. And more specifically, there's some factors here too. Enzymes, they improve the nutritional digestibility, and so there's less, like I said, the necrotic enteritis from the Clostridia. And then also there's anti-nutritional factors associated with gut inflammation in pigs, for example. Beta-conglycinin and glycinin are allergenic proteins. Enzymes can break those down and then make those that gut flora and the gut health much better. So by doing so, you create a better gut health, and then you create a better environment for growth and performance. And so looking ahead to the future, where do we see, certainly, in terms of enzyme feed additives and other alternatives in this post-antibiotics future? And I'm putting this in quotes because certainly antibiotics will be a continued use in animal agriculture, but there will be alternatives to come out to replace some of the growth promoting functions. And what we offer through enzymes is a choice here. And so with biotechnology, it enables us to go in and look at efficacy and yield and look at improving that through enzyme engineering. We have a lot of tools available to us through structure function studies and also increasing the thermal stability by using these tools. And also improving yield through microbial strain and process development. These are kind of the traditional toolkits that biotechnology companies have, like ours, to develop better performing enzymes and providing it at a higher yield, at a lower cost. But there's some new genomic tools and gene editing tools that are on the horizon that are very exciting, and a lot of that is work that we're doing and collaborating with other researchers, looking at when we talk about gut health, what constitutes a good gut health? What does a healthy microbiome look like? You probably hear a lot about microbiome, and that's essentially what is, well, I'm a microbiologist by training, what we call gut flora and microflora. It's the whole environment in which this gut and the organisms in there. And we have tools now that we can go in at the genetic level and look at what is there and what constitutes a healthy gut. And that also allows us to potentially find new compounds. We're always on the lookout for new opportunities to develop other products and solutions that will help promote gut health, and using these tools will enable us to get there. The other exciting area, and we've heard some of these talks in other forums about gene editing, using that to really specifically knock out genes or even knock in genes and make very targeted changes in genetic modifications. And going back to that earlier point about enzyme efficacy and yield, allowing us to do this in a much more efficient and a quick manner. So there's some really exciting things on the horizon. But what I want to leave you with is that there are a lot of opportunities for enzymes, and certainly most enzymes are being used primarily for the ability to digest nutrients, but there is more and more work being done, more and more research showing that by providing a better gut health, enzymes can also improve and be potential replacements or alternatives to antibiotics in animal production. Thank you very much.